I usually start. And I'm trying to get the chat set up. There we go. So we'll see who shows up. We'll hang out for an hour or so. And then I've got a hot date with a hot blonde who wants to play some Splendor. So I'll do that later. We played last night, and man, I think I scored 11 points. She probably had 3 times as many points. Happens, you know. It just happens sometimes like that. I am right now. I've got some Battletech figures. I think this is supposed to be the new Rommel patent. I'm not even sure. I think this is supposed to be the new Rommel patent, which is I have metal ones too, a whole platoon of the metal ones, and I think the metal ones are actually better. They are to scale. Hey, Daniel Berry, how you doing? I had a strange dream. I dreamed I was at a Red Sox ball game singing "Sweet Caroline." Isn't that weird? Maybe while I was taking a nap, Sweet Caroline had come on the television or something. And in my sleep, I just imagined, you know, because every time I hear that song, the first thing I think about is like the seventh inning stretch. So weird, I know, but because I mean, there's under no other circumstances would I ever listen to like Neil Diamond. I have never in my life been what anybody could call a Neil Diamond fan. You know, it's like now that's not to say I don't respect his talent or don't even or dislike him because I don't. I'm just not a fan. You know, my favorite song he did, he doesn't even sing. You know what I'm saying? And of course, all of you are going to guess that I'm talking about Red Red Wine, right? Because the UB40 version is the severe version. There's no, and then yeah, yeah, that's basically just it. Red Red Wine, the UB40, and I always like to say this to people, even though I'm sure at this point everyone knows. A UB40 is a United States unemployment benefits form. So that was kind of the joke name of the band, you know, the UB40. So I'm wondering if my brother will pop in. I have news for him actually. Maybe Shadow is still up. I don't know. I mean, he's. I was on his show this morning though. It was fun. Like I said, he's been having difficulty joining my show, so I've just been joining his. I told him I was stalking his ass. If he thinks he's getting away. There's Mobius. What is up, Mobius? How are you? I'm gluing the turrets on these things because Catalyst doesn't glue the turrets on the vehicles. And I get it that might be cool if you want to twist the turret around and stuff, but some of these turrets just are not in there tight at all. They fall right out, right? And the last thing I want is to lose turrets off of vehicles. But look at you getting all like ombre and shit. But yeah, I almost didn't even. I know Monday. I always try to stream on Mondays, but I was out, and when I got up, I was like, oh shit. But yeah, this morning streaming with Shadow, Janet was there. We had all kinds of people there. James L from the mystical land of Oz. There was actually a pretty good crowd considering, it was noon my time and like 9 o'clock his time. So, yeah. All right. So there's a few of you out there. I don't know what we're going to talk about unless you guys got like a suggestion. Otherwise, I am just going to go off on gaming, like what I've been doing, what I want to do, that sort of thing. Um, I've got some Shrek tanks here. These are actually really nasty when you consider in Battletech vehicles don't worry about heat. So a tank with 3 PPCs on it is pretty rough, you know. A lot of people they hate the Demolisher, and I get it. The Demolisher 2, whatever, it's rolling around with AC-20, but the AC-20's got like a range of 9, and that's long range. The Shrek can reach out and get your ass, you know, and in theory hit for more damage, really, you know. It's firing 3 shots, so odds are it's going to hit you at least one time. And if it does hit you that one time, you're taking the 10 damage. And then if it does hit you a second time, well, there's 20. And a third time, if it gets really lucky and hits you that third time, well, there you go, you know. Welcome to just having taken 30 points of damage in a round, making a pilot save, or getting, you know, knocked down. Well, that happens with you know, 22, but you guys get what I'm saying. 20 also, I should say. Um, mhm. Okay. But yeah, red wine, stay next to me. Don't let me be alone. Breaking a heart. Yeah, so these things, I washed them really good in soapy water and everything, so they're ready to rock. You know, probably don't want to touch them too much. You can get like, you know, finger oil on them or whatever, but you know, set them there and let them. It's up to you. All right. So I do have stuff I need to paint though. And for now, see, this is the metal Rommel patent. I stripped it. I haven't painted it. And it scales perfectly with this other tank, which looks like it's also supposed to be a Rommel patent, basically. But the metal one is way more detailed. So I'm going to have to actually double check and see if this is a Rommel patent or not. If it's like some other kind of tank. But the armament's the same. I mean, it's got an AC and an SR or LRM5 on the front. So, well, AC10 or AC20 actually. Yeah, it's got the same front mud guards. It's got the same side profile and the same track system. So yeah, this is definitely the new version of the Rommel or the patent. And that makes sense though, because it's easier to get really good detail in metal than it is in plastic. Some plastics, you know, and for what they're for, those are excellent. So we're just gonna not complain. Best still, what is up, homie? How is the Mid East or Midwest doing? Hope you haven't blown away, my friend. Hope you had a good Easter. Well, Pasha was good. Mine was good. I learned learned some stuff that's coming up that has me very excited. Which, no secret, I'm going to be going to visit my mom in a couple weeks. Those Shreks are from Catalyst, and they're pretty awesome. Yeah, they're pretty awesome. I think the box they came in literally is like $29 or $33, something like that. So I know everybody is hating on Catalyst, and I totally get it. They are douchebags, but you know, sometimes I'm faced with the question, do I buy this stuff from a company that has some douchebags in it, or do I just not own it? And the thing is, I really wanted to own it. So now the metal miniatures, I'm so glad I still have, and I actually am thinking about painting these up soon too. Is I found my platoon of Maxims, and for the Bautech fans out there, the Maxim is basically a hover vehicle devoted to transport and infantry. That's just what it does. It's armed with like an SRM-4 and pretty much, you know, hope and prayers. Which con are you going to, Bastille? Um, yeah, I'm going to Dave Con. I'm not going to Dave Con. I was really thinking I was, but turns out I won't be at Dave Con. I will be in Kentucky. And even though I'm sure I would have had a blast at Dave Con, I just from everything, Dave Con looks like it's going to be an absolute awesome time. Um, yeah, I'm going to go with visiting my mama because I'm a mama's boy, kind of. I mean, everybody knows us hillbillies, we do love our mamas and our grandmamas. It's just the way it is. So now there will be some cons down here in Florida, and there's the GUO AG thing that Delver's doing, and yeah, Dave Con. See, yeah, I was totally wanting to go, and then I guess I talked myself out of it. Um, the So Dungeon Delver's got an online con, which I will 100% be looking in on and paying attention to, but assuming I haven't missed it already, because man, yeah, and she had the whole thing where she was sick a couple years ago, and she's back up, but I never know with her because she's like basically she always wants to try and lie when she's sick and be like, "Oh no, I'm fine. Don't worry about me." And then I find out, you're lying. Something's wrong, and then it's the whole, well, I didn't want to worry you, and it's like, worry me, please. Please worry me. I don't know what's up with this shit. Didn't want to worry me. So I'm sure I'm sure what I just said is probably very common for a lot of us guys out there of a certain age. You got moms that keep secrets because they don't want to upset their baby boys. Now, here in a second, if my brother doesn't show up, I'm actually going to have to send him a message. Be like, hey, wake up, man. Because I know that's what he's doing. He's sleeping. I'll be like, it's Monday. Wake up. We got stuff to talk about. Like, I'm going to see you in a little while. It's funny when you're young, like 3 or 4 weeks seems like forever, but when you're old, it's like, it's a little while. you know? It's like, that's not even any time. So right now I have this Reaper uh, golem, and I think it's supposed to be an iron golem actually, but I have painted this bad boy up to look all like bronzy coppery. And the reason, if anybody were to ask or care, is because I like it. That's how I paint everything. So anytime anybody sees me painting something like a monster or something, if it's not like exactly what, you know, it's described in a book or something, if I've done all kinds of other stuff to it, that will always be the excuse because I was painting it and I saw the way the colors looked and I was like, damn, I like that. And if you too are a miniatures painter, I suggest but still, if you wanted to join, I put the link up there, but I could put it down here again. And I don't think you need anything to join, right? A mic. Yeah, mic is kind of the bare minimum, but you just hit that and it'll let me know you would like to join. And then, uh, yeah, you don't need anything to join the restream except for a mic on your computer so I can hear you. I mean, that's kind of bare minimum, but otherwise, you click that thing and it says, do you want to go whatever? And then it'll signal me that somebody's in the back waiting. And then I will hit a button. And the next thing you know, you will be on the stream. Mr. Bastille. All right. So that's kind of what we got right now. And I think the war skirt he's wearing, I think I'm actually going to do that iron. And the scale pauldron, I'm going to do that in an iron color too. And I may do the center of the belt with the ram's head. Yeah, that's probably going to get iron too. And then after it's iron, I'll do the rivets back in bronze to tie it in. And then, I could use it as an iron golem. I could use it as a whatever, whichever kind of golem I want. Yeah, you have to have a mic. That's the only thing. Otherwise, no one will be able to hear whatever you're wanting to say. And that would be a shame because, we all want to hear you. I have been diving pretty hard recently into Reaper miniatures, especially the cheap ones. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. I mean, I've always picked up Reaper miniatures like here or there. If I saw something I really liked, I'd pick it up. But I've actually, been going through their actual catalog and seeing what they have. Like these guys are definitely going to need a dry brush, but I mean, I got to paint the stones there and bones they're standing on. But harpies, they go on my top 10 wandering monster list that Shadow's talking about. Basically, my top 10 wandering monster list, I already know is going to be comprised of monsters that actually wander. So, you know, certain monsters aren't really known for wandering. They just kind of hang out. Like you probably would never really encounter a lot of different breeds of giant spider because a lot of spiders, like a funnel web spider, they don't wander very far away from their home, right? And a funnel web's home is not going to ah yeah, funnel web's phone is not or phone a funnel web. They don't have phones unless maybe they do. It's Australia, so but a funnel web spider is not going to wander very very far away from its den, but maybe a giant jumping spider would, because they're always moving around, getting into stuff, And harpies, they might have a nest, but since they can fly, that means their range is massive. So anyone traveling through anywhere near a harpy nest would run a chance of perhaps encounter them. I mean, harpies being kind of cowardly, they would try to do the charm, and if it didn't stick, they'd probably just run, unless they outnumber you. Um, Sturge is on the list. And that's because, again, when the time is right for the sturge, to quote Deborah Harris, they will pop out of the old nest and just go flying around looking for something to really aggravate. And so that makes sense as a monster that you might encounter. That's how I'm thinking about. So, I mean, I guess what I would have to tell my homie Shadow is, if we're going to do a top 10 monsters, I would have to have a different top 10 for outdoor versus indoor. Indoor, you might be talking about a whole different thing. And outdoor is going to be a whole different thing. Or maybe I just think too much about this shit, and I should just go with the 5 monsters that I like. But typically, when I make wandering monster charts, I try to assume anything on the chart is something that actually might be wandering. There,
Hey,
Timothy. Hello, Timothy.
how's it going?
It's Monday, bro.
Yep,
It's
Monday.
Monday, Monday, Monday. It's actually going pretty good. No regrets. Holy diver, what is up, homie?
Hey, Holy Diver.
I
Oh,
have I mentioned you because somebody was talking about how they'd always wanted to play the small scale Warhammer Fantasy, and I told them, well, you should go check out Holy Diver's stuff because he's been painting some of those old war banner or whatever it was, Bretonians. Now, whether they do or not, I don't know, but it's awesome to see you, though. I hope this is not in some way interfering with your live stream you're doing, because uh, you know,
hey, Mobius.
yeah, Mobius is here. Mobius,
Well,
one of
my next game that's coming up is tomorrow now.
nice
Yeah.
Mobius, one of my favorite Canadians. I mean, Dungeon Minister's got to be up there. You guys know that he's a good guy, but um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I am behind on Holy Divers stuff this week. It's been a weird week, though. I told you guys yesterday. Yesterday was like an emotional roller coaster, and I hate that. But when you got to deal with a lot of people and a lot of stuff is going on, and it wears you out. It's just like, ugh.
My week was weird, but in a different way. Instead of having to deal with a lot of people, I was home alone by myself for a good chunk of it.
Huh.
And then, the whole water issue.
Right. And then you had to climb under the house or whatever and fix a pipe.
I didn't have to climb out of the house. I just had to, get the thing from my grandma's to turn off the water out in the water main.
Oh. I know the thing you're talking about, the T thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, if I could find a
you
wrench
can
around
use
here,
that, but as a guy who has worked in water before, just
yeah,
right here, do it.
yeah. If
Reach
I
in
knew
there and
where,
twist that shit.
I know if I knew where those were, I would have used one of those. But I don't know where those things are.
Well, I
Who
do.
knows here?
Right there on the desk.
Yeah, I know. You keep your stuff organized.
Well, out in the garage, my tools are actually pretty organized. I've got a big rack
Yeah,
and they're all hung
yeah.
up
It'd
on
be
the wall.
like what my papa probably had, which if anything would
Yeah,
have been easy to find something. My
right. But
dad, he leaves
that
his
thing
stuff
can.
everywhere. Who knows where?
Those channel locks, they're in here because I could not open a bottle of super glue.
Eh.
War Master is the best. Just got from a nap. Same. I threw a review of Nosferatu. Oh, so I definitely need to check that one out because I'm the one who's like, how is that movie? And shouted you out. Thank you very much, sir. I'll beg you, dude. Come on, man. You and me ain't like that. You and I are better than that. We don't, you do what you do. And I am just happy to be able to catch it sometimes. You are my homie out there in the land of Mormons. So, I mean, shit, Holy Diver, how long have I been watching your channel? Probably just about as long as you've had it. So, you know, I think when I started watching Holy Diver's channel, my beard might have been black.
Eh.
Can you imagine that?
It's better than mine. Mine's like when I
Red.
let mine grow out, it's just pure red.
Hungar is one of those guys that does that too. When he had hair, it was he. Okay, Hungar is basically kind of a ginger, but his beard was like all out of bounds. It'd be like his hair would be like a auburn brown. His beard would be blood red, like Barbarossa. That's a reference to an old Willie Nelson, and now I'm forgetting his name, but he's awesome movie. The guy who got in a motorcycle accident and crushed his head.
Oof. Oh,
Come on now, think about it. He's blonde, got
I
big
don't
teeth.
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, somebody in chat knows exactly who I'm talking about. He's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. He's got big teeth. He's blonde. He crushed his head in a motorcycle accident. He played Buddy Holly. And yeah, he was pretty awesome. Well, there's
Well,
my brother.
hey,
Hey,
Hoss.
just hopping on for a minute. Me and Greg on the way to pick up corn dog and then go to Walmart.
Okay, so what do you want to hop on and say?
That you're my brother and hi and I love you.
Okay, well, I've got news for you.
What's that?
I'm going to be at mom's like the whole week of Mother's Day or whatever.
So next month you're gonna be at mom's house.
It's not even a month when you consider when Mother's Day is versus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I can go up there, but I have to be back in town before the 12th next
Well,
month.
that's your problem. I'm just letting you know that if you want to hang out,
Of
you
course I
have
want
to
to hang
do.
out.
Okay.
I gotta be back before the 12th because I got a doctor's appointment on the 12th.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Holy Diver?
James, he's doing
Yeah.
something. He's being nicer than my brother would be. If we had streaming when we were kids, or if we streamed together, he probably would have been like, "Hey, I'm coming. I just want to come on here to say something." And then as soon as he says, I'd be like, "What do you want to say? You're gay," and then he'd leave.
Oh, we do that too.
Yeah, we do that too.
Don't worry
Yeah,
about that. We do
I
that
come
too.
over like, I just want to say something, bro. Oh, what's up? Suck a bag of cocks. Keep your balls tucked. Get your
yeah.
tucked.
Yeah. Yeah. He was. this is my brother, the guy I game with, and that was pretty much a whole conversation that happened Saturday night.
I
I
heard
think
your
I won when I told him to suck a whole oil transport freighter full of cocks.
Yeah, but I told you to suck a train load full of cocks.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot.
well, Hungar. I heard that your whole plan worked out last session.
Yes, it was great.
Yeah. Oh man. I have no idea how any of that is going to turn out. We will just have to see. I mean, Shadow and I talked about it. He didn't approve necessarily, but I am the kind of DM that when if players want to do shit, I'm like, all right. I mean, you sure that's what you want to do? We're going to do it. And the chips can fall where they may,
Yep.
because the last thing I ever want to be known as when it comes to running any kind of role playing game is the guy who tried to railroad people or whatever. You know.
Well, brother, I'm going to bounce out of here.
All right.
See ya, Hungar.
Love, love you. Timmy, good to see you, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
And the link is there if anyone wants to jump in and talk about pretty much anything involving nerd stuff and whatever. Right.
Talking about
Oh,
nerd stuff.
yeah.
James, our gear, the DM, Bubba, he actually finally posted the stuff that we had identified.
Nice.
Yeah, so we got a bracers of deflection,
Okay.
potion of healing, a curse mixed potion of gaseous form,
Yeah.
and the antlered hat that we found is the antlered hat of disease, which makes you
Oh.
immune to disease.
Oh.
The
Okay.
name made that one confusing. I'm hoping that's not as bad as I think, because with that, I think, oh, did the mage succeed or fail on the curse aspect of that?
So, because this is how I paint, guys, I thought I'd put a little iron on this guy around the war belt, and instead I ended up doing like all of his what might be flesh also in an iron color.
Nice.
Your stove is running. Well, you better run it down. Remember that joke?
Better go chase it.
You better go chase it. Call somebody and ask them if the fridge is running.
Yep.
That
Better
was like
catch it.
that was some 70s and 80s humor there. I mean, now nobody.
Yeah, that's old school.
That's old school. See, my biggest sin from when I was in my teens and realized you could prank call people. And I don't know if this is my fault or if this was just a block put in my way by God to see how I would react. But there was a woman in the phone book that lived near us whose name was Ada Dick. And it's like that sort of temptation should never be forced upon a 15-year-old idiot. Because I mean, you're calling that. And when they answer, you're going to be like, how'd it taste? And then they're going to hang up because, they've heard it 100 freaking times. And back then you could like *6 7 to make it where people, the cursed gaseous form turns you into a fart. That'd be funny if it was cursed gaseous form and it turned you to gaseous form, but it was like stinking cloud, like you said. So you turn to gaseous form and everyone else around you start choking. It's like, oh man.
Hey, that's not too much of a curse if it's temporary, because you can still use that offensively.
Well, you could. See, the player in my party that found the cursed item, it was an idol of Cthulhu, and it was slowly every night in her dreams dragging her closer and closer to the dreaming god. And after like 2 weeks of this, she was actually she got close enough before she got the thing taken care of that she saw the gates of Rely opening for her. So she was starting to just go insane. And eventually they found a witch that could, and that's a class in Hyperborea that could help her with that. And so they did the whole ritual, and she barely succeeded. And that's why her character has a shock of pure white hair, even though she's black haired naturally, because she had gotten so close to absolute madness. And then they took that altar or that idol. It was just a little small green kind of soapstone idol and chucked that shit as soon as they could get rid of it. So, yeah, that's how I do, Timmy. I give them a chance to get rid of it, but if they
If
don't,
if they don't, it's gonna be bad.
well, if she had went the whole 2 weeks, eventually she would have entered into the building through the door, and she would have looked face to face on the sleeping god, and her body would basically have become a soulless vessel full of nothing, and which means eventually it would have died unless somebody in this, you know, medieval type world figured out how to freaking tube feed her and put water down her, because yeah, it was snatched her soul right out. Uh, but since I'm a good DM, I made sure it took a long time to happen, so that they had plenty of time to figure out what was going on and talk to all the right people and fix it. I mean, if I was a dick, I could have been like, all right, this takes like 2 days. You know, it'd be like, oh shit, we're 2 days from anywhere, so I guess I'm just going to die now. Thank you. Like the meme. I guess I'll die now. So, yeah.
Another thing we're hoping for, as Bloodsworth and I are hoping that we'll actually have our full group for the Thursday game, the Deadlands game.
That actually came up today on Shadow's Morning with the Reprobate show, and I
Ah,
was one of the reprobates, about how they were talking about running games online on weekdays. It seems like they just always fail.
yeah, it could be a thing.
Now, my theory is that because you guys are playing online, boots of escaping, right? Because you're playing online, people don't take it as serious as they should. I play in person, and that means that every week somebody's looking me right in the face. It also means every week, if they want to call out, I know where they live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So if they want to call out, that is 100% fine. They are adults. I think the youngest person at my table is like in their late 30s, right? But it better not be some, I just decided to sit home and watch the game type shit, because I would be like, well, that's a good way to get uninvited, right? I mean, we asked if you wanted to play the game. We told you when it was, how long it may go. You had all of the information in your hands, and you made the commitment.
not to
And
mention you can now just TiVo that.
right. And that has nothing to do with what I'm saying, but you're right. Um, and if you just choose, you would rather sit on your ass and do some other thing. What you're really saying is you really don't give a shit about the game or the other players.
Yep.
Especially, I mean, thank God, the guy who plays the cleric shows up all the time. But imagine you're showing up to play the game, and the guy who plays the healer is like, "Well, I'm not going to be there tonight. I just got other shit I want to do." And it's like, well, you just effed everybody. Yeah, Mobius, that's exactly, I guess, in my long-winded way, what I'm saying.
Yep.
That since no one in an online game really knows anybody, it's a lot easier to just be like, well, I'm not showing up. Bye. But when you all sit around the table and break bread, and of course, my players have to spend 30 minutes before every game talking shit, then there's a lot more commitment just involved. you know, because they're not just faceless names on a screen. These are your friends now. You hang out with them, you know. You talk about barbecue, you eat macaroni salad, whatever it is you do, you do. And I think like when Wizard of the Coast was talking about how the average game is like 6 games, I think because so many people, especially during the coof, were playing online, that's why. You get what I'm saying, Timmy?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to find a good group, but once you do, it's fine.
Yeah, once you do, but the problem is that's once you
It's
do.
yeah, it's a little difficult.
And it's
Uh,
hard to find that good group, you know. Like you, I know for a fact, whoever's running a game, you're probably going to show up.
oh, I'm definitely going to show up. I usually show up an hour early.
Right. You are a reliable player that people can, you know, count on. Timmy will show up. But a lot of people aren't like you, man. They're going to, some
Yeah,
other shit's going to come up. And my suggestion is if you're that kind of guy and you're like busy and you've got a very active life and stuff could come up, then just don't join the game.
yeah,
Just be like, look, I got shit going on. There's no shame. As a matter of fact, you know, that's definitely not a shameful thing if like you're going out on dates and stuff and you know you just ain't got time to hang out with a bunch of sweaty nerds online. That's cool. But what I guess I'm ranting about is, and like Mobius pointed out, I mean, if you tell them you're going to show up, I mean, your word is your bond. So if you say you're going to do a thing and then you don't do that thing, then, you know, I start being like, you know, like, well, this guy's not very reliable. And maybe this is like weird and people some people might be like, oh, that guy's leaning too heavy into gender roles or something. But to me, as a man, short of real emergencies, you keep your word. Like if I gave my word to play a game and then I found out like a beloved like parent was on their deathbed, yes, you
I
know,
get that. Yeah,
yeah,
that's real life
priorities are
issues.
what they are, right?
Yeah, that's a priority. You're gonna have to go there. It's what happened with Bubba's game tonight. He sadly had somebody pass away.
I keep telling you, Timmy, the older
Mm,
you get,
yeah,
it's like I wake up wondering which one of the people that are like the generation before me I'm going to find out died. It's just like, ugh. And that is a big reason I'm going up to visit my mom because, you know, she's getting old. And if anything should
cherish his
happen,
time.
yeah, if anything should happen before I actually move up there and then I can visit her like every week, I want to make sure I got to see her. And she's so happy we're coming. I mean, because I don't know if she's happy that I'm coming, but boy, she found out my wife was coming and she was beside herself, you know, because
She's like,
she may love me more than she does my wife, but she definitely likes my wife more than she likes me. That's and I'm good with that. I like that.
I was
I'm
gonna
like
make
that.
it.
That's perfectly fine, you know.
I was gonna just say, what is she now the favorite child?
I think. Well, look, man, my wife and my mom, they'll go and they'll hit the outlet stores and they'll hang out and they'll have lunch and they'll do all that kind of thing. Mom ain't doing that with me. Plus, I don't want to. Like, if somebody were to come up with me and say, "Hey, do you want to go hit all of the female outlet stores and look for deals on freaking underwear or some shit?" I'd be like, "No, that sounds like hell to me, almost." You know.
Man,
Uh,
I guess I'm lucky.
but you know,
I
women,
mean,
you know, they're
if
like, "Yeah,
anything, anywhere my mom would go to these kind of to certain stores, it'd be most likely Hobby Lobby, which isn't a bad store to go to at least.
yeah." See, the wife and I occasionally swing into the Hobby Lobby if she needs one of her things is every year after Christmas. She goes to Hobby Lobby and buys wrapping paper and all that Christmas shit when it's like 90% off or
If
whatever.
anything, the one thing I really miss from my childhood is going
Mhm.
to all the flea markets.
We have no flea markets anymore, but we have yard
Oh,
sales. Like
yard
there's
sales
a
we
whole
used to
section of the
pass by too.
newspaper down here that just lists every yard sale and what's going to be there.
That's another thing we don't go to all that often or anymore at all.
Well, I lived in a suburb, and so it's like I know everybody in the cul-de-sac I live on, and I know a lot of people around. So it's not weird if somebody's having a yard sale for me to show up and have a look because I mean we all kind of live around each other. But if I lived way out in the country, would I drive in to town for yard sales? Hell no, I ain't doing that.
We
You
only
can't hang out.
really went to a yard sale by happenstance. Like we'd just be driving by and oh look, a yard sale. Let's go see what's there.
Yeah, I respect that. Yeah, it's you know, mine started early. Like my best friend died when he was 40 something, and he was my age. So in my 40s, my best friend died in his sleep of a pulmonary embolism. Now, it hurt me pretty bad at the time. Now I look back at it and I'm like, well, the dude did smoke 2 packs of Marlboros a day since he's like 15, but I still miss him. And he's the guy when you hear me talk about my super long term AD&D games, that's who I'm talking about. That guy, Haas, a couple other guys I hung out with that moved away or whatever. We would play AD&D at least once a week. And that damn campaign started when I was like 15 and went until I was in my mid 20s, like after I got out of the army. We just picked up and kept going, you know? And hell, we were in a D&D game when he passed. And I found out about it. I was, it was not a good time.
Yeah, I kind of miss playing cards with my papa.
Right. I mean, you do. But whenever I talk about like all the weird shit I used to do, like going out in the bush and freaking drinking beer and the guy that was always there with the guitar, he was that guy, which sometimes is annoying because then when you're like 16 or 17 and you're out there with your high school sweetie pies that hang out, and we had a few, and there's some asshole sitting around the campfire playing his acoustic, and it's kind of hard to be like, well, how do you compete with that? You know what I mean? And it didn't help that he was super handsome. You know, he was like, I mean, I can say this like no homo, but I mean, the dude was like six something, blonde, blue eyed, looked like he should have been on a poster for the Austrian painter or some shit. He was from the Midwest. He was originally from like Iowa or Idaho, not Idaho, Iowa.
He was the
So
Adonis of the group.
he kind of was, because at that time, like before I went to the army, the high school years, I was maybe 130 pounds, like 5'8", just a skinny little bit of a nothing. You know what I mean? And he was the bigger guy. And so there were a few girls that were interested in me because I could talk a lot. And with women, I mean, if you talk a lot, you can talk. I guess you stun them by talking so much that they just take their pants off or something. But he was the guy that he had this big freaking Chevy car that was like a boat. You know what I mean? And yeah, but he and I met when he kicked me in the ass driving by on a sidewalk.
I think my dad he talks about like his favorite car being like the Chevy Nova.
Oh, this wasn't a Nova. This thing was a tank. It was a boat.
Yeah,
Like you could fit 20 people in that thing. But yeah, you guys heard right. I was walking down the sidewalk and this guy decides to, never met him, right up behind me and kicked me in the ass. So I immediately drag his ass off the bike and we start throwing bones. And we fought up and down that freaking sidewalk for a block. And then eventually, other people jumped in and split us up and pulled us aside. I mean, we were going at it. We were just freaking beating the shit out of each other. And, he got on his bike and I had to go my way and people split it up, right? And then I walked out in my backyard and I've told this story before. And who's standing in the backyard abutting my backyard? That asshole. Because they just moved in. And I remember, like, I was standing in the backyard looking at him. At that time, I was probably 14. And this dude looked me right in the face and says, "Hey, man, that was a good fight." And I immediately wasn't mad at him anymore. I was like, "Yeah, you too, bro." And then after that, like, we just started hanging out all the time, and having each other's back and just, everything, everything. Well, not everything, but and that's see, that's guys though, and
Yeah,
that's I think what modern people don't understand is a
I
couple
understand it.
a couple of actual dudes. I don't mean these sissies that want to shoot everybody,
Yeah,
but a couple of actual bros at that in that age frame, they can throw down like the most archest of arch enemies, and then like 2 days later, they're like thick as thieves.
yeah. Like,
But
there's a bit of respect when you defend yourself, and everybody knows that.
right, right.
Into a
And
fight,
like I
more
said,
of
we
a
hung out from then that 14-year-old I was or whatever till he passed at like 40 some 47. Um, but hey, Janet, what is
hey,
up,
Janet.
Janet? But the problem is a lot of this, and I know I'm going to sound like the old person, but a lot of young dudes, man, they just, I don't know, they just ain't got that in them.
Yeah,
The
I know
idea
what you
that
mean.
you can actually just fist fight a guy, you don't have to stab or kill him, you know, like, because the way it was when I was growing up, especially when I went to school up in Kentucky near London, um, if you got in a fight in school, unless you literally maimed the other guy, you might get detention or something.
Yeah,
Sometimes nothing, you know.
I wish it was like that, but you would usually just get detention or maybe suspended for a few days.
I punched this dude who went on to become a constable and then got arrested by the FBI. But in high school, he talked shit about my mom, and I punched him so hard that he spit out one of his back teeth right in front of the bus driver. And the bus driver just said, "Well, shit talked about his mom. Get on." Like, I mean, it was just like that. And then that guy ended
Yeah,
up trying to be friendly to me. And then, like I said, got arrested for corruption and, is in prison now. But uh, yeah, getting in a fight with somebody wasn't a big deal back then. It was just like a thing.
again, I wish it
Now,
was like that in my school because I mean, seriously, why should I get in trouble for getting into a fight because somebody's being a dick to me?
well, I think is people back then, we were a lot more simple as far as the way we thought the world was. And it was like,
Like,
what am I trying to say? It was almost like a lot of Gen Xers, especially if you were from Appalachia, were born with this weird kind of honor code, and everybody knew you didn't break it. And a big part of it was under no circumstances talk shit about the female relative of anyone. And so when that sort of thing did happen, even the teachers and the authority figures were like, well, I mean,
yeah, you know.
kind of brought it on yourself, right? I mean, this is the rule. We all know what the rule is. Janet and Squirrel and anybody
Hey,
else,
squirrel.
I have put the link in the chat. We will talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Right now, me and Timmy are just reminiscing about stuff, and talking to my buddy Bastille, who's probably also one of the first guys that ever subscribed to my channel and chatted with me. Uh, a Minnesotan, um, but you know, and since I had metallic color out painting a thing, and I finished painting the thing the metallic color, I'm now using all the rest of that paint to paint every other thing that needs metallic that happens to be in front of me. So I'm pretty much just painting a bunch of weapons.
Now, James,
And
I heard
now
that
I'm
most
getting ready.
Vikings live in Minnesota.
That I wouldn't doubt that the Vikings carried their long ships from the Great Lakes to Minnesota. That does not. I mean, some people might be like that didn't happen or whatever, and I'm going to be like, how do you know? I mean, because one thing we know about those Norsemen is those boys got around. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I guess, but I just remember that from like Pokemon, the first movie, where they made that joke.
Well, I mean, okay, I get it, but think about it, man. They have found Vikings buried in China,
Yeah.
and they were buried with honors. And then we know for a fact that the elite personal guard of the Byzantine emperor in Anatolia, what we now call Turkey, was mostly a bunch of big freaking Russians and Norwegians or Scandinavians, the Varangian. I mean, so yeah, the Vikings, they would go all over the place. And if somebody wanted to pay them money to fight, they'd be like, yeah, let's do this shit. Because with the Varangians, the emperor would pay them like as much as they could carry in silver once their term was done.
You're making me want to play the Nords now in Bannerlord.
Right. And and they were directly only loyal to him. So if anybody wanted to start some shit, like a rebellion or something against Emperor Basil, the Bulgar Slayer, or whatever army they had was going to be facing these 6.5 foot tall Rus and Vikings that were armored in like 2 or 3 layers of mail, wielding great axes, and just basically.
Yeah, I think that was about the same amount of people who graduated my year in high school.
Scroll number, that is a small school. The thing
Yeah.
with my school, there was a lot more people than that, but I had like in the county I grew up, they only had 2 schools, one in the very north of the county and one in the south of the county, and the school complex was K through 12. Not in the same building, but in the same complex. So when you were in like middle school, you'd be in this building, and when you got to high school, you'd be in this building. And since basically it was half the population of the whole county, you ended up with a couple hundred people.
We only had like two different grades in our middle school, and
Really?
that was on one half of the building, and then there was the high school on the other half of the building.
Huh.
Yeah, we were
Yeah,
weird.
I liked going to school when I was up there.
It was weird because our elementary school was like 1 through 5th. Then the
Yep.
5th grade got kicked out to a 5th 6th center. So I was like the last 5th grader in the elementary school.
Wild, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that I compared the most when I came down here for school versus being up there for school was up there they actually fed you real food, and down here you got whatever the hell that slop was they were serving. I mean, you did get the pizzas,
Yeah.
which were neat that you would never get up there,
Cafeteria pizzas. Well,
but in the school where I went to, like they served like actual food. So when you got in the lunch line, you would grab a actual tray and put actual silverware and your plate on it and go down the line, and maybe get a piece of chicken and some beans and some this. And,
oh
I mean,
man,
it
that
was
sounds good.
actual food like what we ate at home. That was good.
I mean, for us, we still got the really crappy school food. But to be fair, our
Well, you're a
our
generation after me, man.
yeah, our cafeteria workers did some miracles on that because they weren't actually all that bad.
No, even the school food wasn't horrible. Let's be honest. I mean,
I don't
they
know.
would,
I've been
they,
to
they would
certain
serve us
schools
pizza Friday, and we'd all be stoked.
that was probably the best one. But I mean, to be honest, I went to two different schools, and I gotta say, my school that I first went to, the main school I've went to most of my life, had way better food than the other one.
Right.
Oh God, it was terrible in the other school.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't even.
School for me back then in the late 70s and early 80s is pretty awesome. You know, but especially since I lived so far away from every single person. So school was literally the only time that I got to hang out with other kids that weren't related to me. And so I liked it, go to school, talk to people, throw dodgeballs at people's heads, maybe learn something every now and then. But
In high school, what we did mostly was just walk or play basketball.
yeah, Mobius. Well, that is, I don't know, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
our school.
as an American, I have opinions which are basically, no, we're just going to speak one language.
Yep.
That's my opinion. But I mean,
Any other language should be an elective in school.
which I took French
Spanish.
one year,
Oh,
Spanish a year. There was one year I took Russian, but then that teacher stopped teaching it after that
no.
one year. Um,
We our school only had French and Spanish, but the French kind of ended, so you only had the option of Spanish.
right. And one thing about our school too, though, bro, with the Spanish, is the lady that was teaching Spanish was Argentinian. So it was like, yeah, you could learn the Spanish from her, but if you tried to talk to like a Mexican or something, they'd look at you like, the hell are you saying?
Well,
Because we were learning that we were pronouncing things the way people in Argentina do,
mm,
not the way people in Mexico or Puerto Rico do, which even amongst them two is totally different.
yeah. Oh man, our Spanish teacher was actually, I think, from our state. He was a he was a missionary who usually go down to Mexico to volunteer.
So he learned to, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was a Protestant missionary.
Yeah, ours was a lady who was born in Argentina and came up, and
He,
she's a
he
nice
was also
lady.
the he was also the French teacher when we did have French,
Oh
so
my
he
God,
knew
what a
three
talented
languages.
guy.
Yeah, he also talked about the what it's like to actually try to speak French to Frenchmen and how horrible it is.
Well,
You get anything slightly wrong, they'll make fun of you. Well, if it's Spanish people, they'll actually try to teach you and won't be mad at you at all.
that's the way it is with like down here, since I'm surrounded on all sides with Puerto Ricans and Mexicans.
Yeah,
If you try to say something in Spanish and you don't get it right, they don't mess with you at all. They're just like, oh,
no,
okay. They're just happy you tried.
yeah. French,
And another
the
group of
French are
people,
just like
Timmy, another
relentlessly
group of
making fun
people
of
that
you.
are like that are Germans.
Yeah,
When you go to Germany, which I have, if the fact that you're even trying to figure out how to speak their language, they love it. They're just like, great.
I think it's mostly just the French that for some reasons like that. They're all snooty about it.
I mean, how do I say this without offending all the French people? They're way too proud of themselves for what they've actually accomplished.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you so proud of yourself? I mean, the only good generals they ever had were all not French. They've got their asses whipped nonstop by all of their neighbors.
That is kind of true, actually, because Napoleon, he wasn't French. He
No,
was
he's Corsican.
from.
Um, their food is not that great. Everybody's always going on about French cooking. I don't like it.
Me
You
neither.
know, I mean, you can put all the buttery gravy you want over a piece of chicken. I still don't care. Uh, so while I wouldn't say I hate the French, I don't hate French people at all. They are a little bit overly arrogant, I think. You know,
Oh yeah.
but maybe it's also Americans might be too arrogant. But then again, I think we deserve it because we pretty much kicked every guy's ass.
To the
And
point where I actually want to manifest destiny over the world.
oh, we thought about taking Canada a long time ago, in the
Yeah.
1800s, and it was such a thing that the Canadian government was like posting their royal mounted guys, whatever, Mounties all over the freaking place, and they were running Americans off of Canadian ground the way we're trying to deport illegals here because they were afraid, and it was especially Western Canada when the gold rush was on. So many Americans were sneaking across the border to try to find gold in the Yukon and shit like that. That it was starting to get to where the Americans were more populous than the native Canadians. And that was pretty jarring to the Canadian government because they thought, well, if the whole population's American, then what's going to stop them from turning around and just telling us to F ourselves? Because it
Yeah,
already happened in Texas.
yeah, I mean,
You know what I
well,
mean?
there would be precedent for that, so yeah, I can see that.
Exactly. I mean, they knew, hey, we saw what happened in Texas, and if we don't take this shit into hand, then we're going to lose the Yukon and all that shit. It'll just end up being part of Alaska or something.
It
And
also happened
so
previously on British
for a
territory
long
too.
time, they even had a name for Americans back then. This is during the gold rush, and it was not a nice name
No,
because they were trying to make the Yukon territory and all that as uh, hospitable as possible to Americans because they didn't want us flooding their country. And now look, they were so upset that we were flooding their country that in the modern day they just gave it away to India. Good job, guys. Good job. We'll see how that works out. Freaking history is one of my favorite subjects because of how stupid it is.
oh man, it is. I mean, have you heard of the pig war?
Of course, I heard of the
Oh
pig war. We've already talked about the pig war.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
God, yeah,
you had some famous American and British generals and admirals and shit involved in that
yeah,
because somebody killed somebody's pig over eating potatoes.
yes.
Some people still to this day argue about where the border is on that river and how the islands fit into it.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
It's
Down the middle of the river. What middle? Because there's like three different middles you could choose here.
yeah, that was the whole thing is everybody trying to figure out exactly who owned what. And luckily it didn't turn into a shooting war because the
Oh,
British probably would have won
it
that
came
one
really
at the
close.
time.
Yeah,
They would have won that battle.
yeah.
But then we would have mobilized and it would have got bad quick. But at the time and the place, they probably would definitely come out on top of that. But
How do you think America would have dealt with the general that started that war?
knowing us, we probably would have backed him.
Well, I mean, we would have probably.
We probably would have been like, hey, you know, they shouldn't have done that or something. And then we would have mobilized all of our troops and started calling up reserves. And the next thing you know, there would be more Americans in Toronto than people who actually live in Toronto. And they would be looking around like, where did all of these green uniform bastards pop up like mushrooms, right? And
Yeah,
the reason I think that's what would happen is we did that shit to Mexico City twice.
no, but I was
On,
with the
on,
other
on
general
at
who had to
least
relieve
two
him.
occasions, the Mexicans did something. We got pissy. And the next thing you know, there were more American soldiers in Mexico than there were Mexicans.
Yeah,
And they're just like, I mean, the only battles really they ever won was at the Alamo, and they outnumbered the American defenders like
I would even call that
Massive.
like even a Pyrrhic victory with how many they lost
The
compared to
American
who was defending
defenders,
it.
if you can even call them Mexican, because they were kind of Texans, weren't they?
Yeah.
Were outnumbered massively, and they still made them pay for every freaking second they were out there messing around.
Yeah.
And then when America actually entered the war, it was like, yeah, no, we're just going to trash you bastards. And, I've said this before. A lot of people don't know it. It was Robert E. Lee, a young lieutenant colonel, I think, who led the cavalry for the United States that actually broke the Spanish resistance in Mexico City.
Yeah.
Because all those generals back then were like buddies. They all came up together. So during the Civil War, people want to think away. Like Raven used to always talk shit about Sherman. You know, Sherman did this, Sherman did that. I was like, yeah, but he was also the pallbearer when Bragg died or whatever. It's like, if you
Names
think,
were a bit complicated and messy. I could say I probably don't like a lot of things that Sherman did, but yeah, he had his reasons, I guess.
well, his reasons were he understood, because he wasn't an idiot, that the kindest way to fight a war is to fight it as brutally as possible so it ends as quick as possible.
Eh,
And by doing that, you actually save lives. If you want to see the opposite theory of that, you just look at Ukraine or Vietnam. Drag a war out so long that, you know, see, we didn't do that shit in World War II. We rolled over there and it was like, all right, everything is getting blown up.
yeah.
And we ended that shit. But so, yeah, I don't hate Sherman at all. I mean, he committed a lot of war crimes by today's standards, but hell, all the Yankees did, honestly. The
And,
only Confederates that were doing war crimes was, some people say Forrest might have executed all the black soldiers in the Union side after they surrendered. And then, of course, the Raiders in Missouri and Kansas. Yeah, those guys were definitely bad hombres riding around, shooting prisoners and stuff. And I'm related to them, the youngers anyway, because those people all came from freaking Kentucky or Tennessee, every one of them, and got involved out there with what's his name, Quantrell, Bloody Bill Quantrell.
it seems like my family fought for the Tennessee. Not
Yeah,
Kentucky Volunteers, but just like they were actually Tennessee,
the family I know
residents.
of that fought in the Civil War fought for the Orphan Brigade, which meant they were Kentucky, but they relied on Tennessee for
Yeah.
food and everything.
Well, mine were part of the Orphan Brigade. Mine were actually just Tennessee soldiers.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So that, like, mine were Thomas McKee, who was a major, was in the 5th Kentucky Cavalry. And that was part of the Orphan Brigade. And then I had a relative that was like a private that was in like the 7th Kentucky. Again, part of the Orphan Brigade, because after they got ran out Kentucky, they didn't surrender. They just went to Tennessee and started fighting there. But yeah, Mobius with his, I don't know. I mean, I think Bear told me the thing in Canada is that basically the Anglos had to kind of suck it,
Cutting out there.
threatening to leave or something. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Anglos had to suck it up because all the people in Quebec were threatening to leave or something. And part of the suck it up was we're going to teach both languages and both this and both that and both this everywhere. And that's just kind of the deal they made to keep Canada one country or something. So, whereas in the United States, we just went to war about it.
Yep.
Because If there's one thing Americans like, it is war. We love it.
And we excel at it.
And even when hippies get online and tell you they don't like war, they're lying. They just don't like that war for whatever reason. But they like other wars.
Usually it's because they're commies.
Right. So a person will get on and tell you how much they hate, like, what we're doing in Iran. But that same person will tell you everything we did in some other war was absolutely justified. And the point of the whole thing is that, yes, as Americans, we love war. We love it. Can't get enough of it. Our sports are based on war. The games we play are based on war. Literally, all we do all day is sit around thinking about war.
Heck, you know how much we'll sacrifice just to rescue a pilot? A lot.
Yeah, and then you got assholes being like, I can't believe they risked all that for a man. It's like,
Yeah.
as a veteran, I'm like, what an asshole.
I know.
You leave that guy over there?
Just
No,
believe
man.
that guy?
Like they said
No.
in the fire department, risk a lot to gain a lot, risk a little to gain a little. So, what that basically means, if you know the house is empty, you don't go in if it's fully involved. You just try to put
Let it
out from
burn.
the outside,
Yep.
roll, go safe. But if you think there's people in there, you go in.
Yep.
And so you risk your life if you think you can save a life. That's just the way it is. So yeah, this doing all the math and counting all the numbers, they spent this much to save that pilot. And it's like, well, why aren't you complaining about the billions of dollars that got fraudulently stolen from the government? But you're upset that they paid for fuel for some, Blackhawks and Chinooks and shit. Get out of here.
Or that we lost maybe a helicopter or two. Oh well, that stuff can be replaced.
I'm just getting sick and tired of American politics. I'll be honest. I don't
Yeah.
even want to talk about it. It's gotten so stupid at this point that I'm just like, you just shake your head. It's like, how do you get on TV and actively vote for a country that forces 9-year-old girls to marry old men and hangs or murders basically anyone not exactly like them? And you're a blue haired hippie in the United States rooting for them. It's like somebody said this. I think is that guy, Kennedy from Louisiana. He said it's like chickens protesting in favor of Kentucky Fried Chicken. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, what are you doing? But whatever. I mean, see, one of these days, hopefully, Bloodworth will get back into the Hyperborea thing, and you'll be able to check that out because I know you'll love it.
Oh, I probably would. I'd probably have an idea of what I would want to play.
Oh man, there's so many cool things to play. That's like, you know what I mean?
I'd probably just make a fighter, make him a samurai, and just be like, yep, or some kind of Yari peasant.
Yeah, and like we talked about already, you can do that. You can 100% do that. That is a thing. It's like anything from history,
Now
ancient history.
I'd have to learn a little bit more about the Heian period, though. I don't know as much about that period. I was more of the Sengoku Jidai type of guy.
Yeah, you could probably play a guy from the Sengoku, from the Warring era. You could do that.
Probably, but that'd be a little bit harder because there were no real natural disasters, it seems.
Yeah, but you don't have to actually be like,
Hmm.
this particular thing happened. It could be something as simple as you were out on a fishing boat selling somewhere and the boat sank. I mean, you don't have to justify how you vanished from old Earth and ended up in Hyperborea. I mean, shit, it could have been one of your great ancestors, right? And you could have grown up in Hyperborea, but you kept your culture. That's how you end up with, like, in Hyperborea, cities or towns that are like effectively Greek or Roman, because there were so many of them that came over that they didn't integrate with whomever was near them. They literally just recreated the civilization. I mean, the Celts in Hyperborea rule a pretty damn
Or I could,
huge empire.
Or I don't know, Celt. I could really go for being like some kind of Celtic like ranger or something.
The Celts and the Cimmerians both rule massive land areas, and the Cimmerians would be like Slavs. So, yeah, figure Proto-Russians before Russia. And in our world, they were eventually pretty much all wiped out by Scythians and Huns and, the central, like, plateau guys.
But you gotta say a Celtic like ranger would be kind of cool.
It not only would it be kind of cool, but, bro, there's one in my game.
Yeah.
Except he's not a ranger, he's a scout, which is a ranger that started out as a thief.
Again,
Because
similar view. I was just using ranger as the idea, like
yeah, no.
thematically, like running around with a bow, being
Well,
really
because
good
they
at
have the
tracking.
subclasses, there's basically an outdoor wilderness survival guy under as a subclass for fighters, the ranger or the hunter, right?
Yeah.
Totally different, kind of, because the hunter's whole deal is hunting down and killing monsters. That's what they do.
But now,
And the
how would I?
ranger is more of like you're protecting the border, going through the wilderness, doing that kind of shit. And then you got the scout, which is kind of like a ranger, except their base class is thief.
Mm,
So they get thief abilities, but then they get a bunch of outdoor survival abilities too. And then there's a cleric. There's actually two clerics, maybe three now that I think about it. The shaman, the druid, and the rune carver. And they all have outdoor skills.
neat.
But then the barbarian under fighter has a shit ton of outdoor skills. So, I mean, yeah, pretty much anything you want, you can have.
Now, James, the way I kind of want to do this is probably a little bit weird though, because I want to be able to use like this really big longbow, probably have a bit of armor, and then my melee weapon being like a two-headed sword.
Well, you that could be pretty much anything but a berserker, because berserkers don't use ranged weapons. They could, but there's no like thing that forces them to not, except that they don't want to.
Because I would kind of like.
But a barbarian could, a ranger could, a hunter could,
I'd probably be a
scout
barbarian.
in my group does. But I have to double check the character to see if he started with the longbow skill or when he hit level 4 he took it. Because every 4 levels, any weapon that you're not proficient with, you can pick a new one to be proficient with. So you could play a mage, hit level 4 and pick longbow. Which is why some of the people who go online and they talk about character building, like things you could do in Hyperborea, they say that if you want to play a mage, you want your first highest attribute in intelligence, obviously, right? Because that's all your bonus spells and everything. And that's important because you don't get that many spells in this game. So any bonus spells you get are important, right? But then your next highest, you want to put in dex, because that'll give you an armor class improvement, make you a little bit harder to hit. And then at level 4, if you want to pick up like crossbow or longbow or some shit like that,
you could
pick that up. And when you're out of spells, you can be standing in the back row just freaking,
looking at
working that bow, man. You go from being a mage to a freaking ranged archer that quick. And if you, let's say, imagine you got like a 17 and a 16. Well, that character is going to have bonus spells up to like level 3, which is great. And he's going to be getting like +2 to hit with a bow, which is pretty badass,
Yeah.
I mean, he's never going to be as good as a fighter, obviously.
No, but still, that's pretty good. And
but it's
it'll still be useful.
Yeah, it's good options, plus, a lot of mages in the game, like the Cryomancer in the group, began the game being able to fight with certain types of swords, spears. It's not like AD&D where when you play a mage, you can use like darts, stabs, and a dagger. In this game, you have a whole freaking list of weapons you can use. And then, like I said, every 4th level, you can pick other weapons to add to that list. like my brother's cleric is a basic cleric. He started out being able to use all kinds of weapons that you wouldn't think a cleric could use. I mean, he chose two-handed warhammer because he liked to smash things on the head with a great hammer, but yeah, but he could use bladed weapons and spears and stuff, you know.
Yeah, I basically wanted to be like a fiend from Bannerlord, but more real lifey, I guess.
Yeah, I
And
don't know what Bannerlord is.
it's a game where you basically start out as like a mercenary, build up an army, and then you can just take over the land whenever you want.
Huh. Okay, that sounds
Fun
cool.
game.
Sounds cool.
Mountain Blade kind of game.
Oh, I
It,
remember Mountain Blade. Yeah.
yeah. This is the newer version of the game.
Come on, chat, say something, or we're just gonna keep being boring. Um,
One of my two-handed weapon would be like a fox.
that, believe it or not, is a weapon that is available in the game.
Yeah.
But if you were going to use a fox, you would generally be a Dacian. Then
A Dacian? Oh, is that a Dacian weapon?
it is a Dacian weapon. The Romans
Oh.
feared it because apparently a guy with a fox, you know, they could like cleave through a shield and shit.
Now that makes me wonder because I mean, why does
And they were also supposedly head takers too. That was kind of a thing. A lot of those tribes did, you know.
Because I would say that the Battanians are a lot like the Celtic class, but they do have the Foxmen, and that makes
Well,
me.
Britannia, if you're talking Warhammer anyway, they kind of blend a little bit of the Celtic thing with a lot of the Frank. So, like, you know, early medieval French. In Warhammer, the actual Celts are from Albion, and they never ever ever made an army for them. There was like a mercenary unit you could buy that was like a druid and a giant. Because apparently the druids could control giants or some shit. But yeah, they never actually made an army for the English. Whereas they made an army for North America and for South America. So you would think as Britons, they would have made an army for Britain, but they didn't. Because the empire is Germany. Keslev is Poland / Russia combined.
Maybe I'll change this because I do kind of want to stick with the more Celtic style if I did this.
Well, then you would be, surprise, surprise, a Celt.
Yeah.
And then you would pick whatever class you want and equip them however you want. The fighter I made, because I'm me, I made two fighters. The first one was a Roman legionnaire, and I equipped him appropriately. And the second one was a Byzantine cataphract, and equipped him appropriately. So, you know, I had the one with the javelin, short sword, darts, big ass shield, splinted armor or banded armor, actually. And then the cataphract was like Lamellar, didn't have armor for his horse yet, but he was good with lances and spears and maces and stuff. And the funny thing is, the one would have spoke Latin, the other one would have spoke Greek. That would be the primary language, you know. So yeah, you know how I'm always going off about, you know, Eastern Rome, Constantinople. You can make a character from that, from either West or Eastern Rome, from whichever period back then you want. You know, you can make a Persian. Berbers are available, so you can make North Africans. You know, the Berbers, the Numidians, Carthaginians.
Maybe I will like a claymore or something.
Oh, a Scot?
Yeah.
I mean, a Celt running around, whether he's a fighter or a barbarian with a two-handed sword, that would not be surprising to anybody. It'd be like, oh, look, here he comes. You know, he's all freaking running around, maybe painted up in blue, because that was, you know, definitely a Scottish thing more than the ancient Irish.
Yeah.
And he's got a big freaking sword. Now, an interesting thing to you maybe, but not to probably anyone else, is The actual sword that they called a claymore back then was a one-handed basket hilt sword.
Ah,
And somehow, over time,
people just started associating it
people
with the
started calling
two-handed.
that big two-handed bastard they're using the claymore. I think even they started. But if you actually look up like old Scottish claymores, they're like one-handed swords with a basket hilt.
What would be that two-handed, like the two-handed sword, be called before then? Or is that just a new thing and they just decided to
The
take the
Germans would have called it a
spy?
Gross, not a Grossmesser because that's different, but kind of,
Yeah,
or maybe a Flamberge if it had like the wavy blade.
I would have thought Zweihander, wouldn't it? Or is that something?
Zweihander would probably be it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Because the Grossmesser is a two-handed sword. Some of them are two-handed swords, but the difference is they have an edge only on one side.
yeah. And the thing, the reason why they did it was they're pretty much calling it a giant knife, and they
That's
weren't allowed.
exactly what they were
They
doing.
weren't allowed to. They
It
weren't
was like
allowed
a
to make
guild thing
swords. Yeah,
because the sword guild convinced the nobles to not allow the knife guild to make swords.
nope.
So they just started making big effing knives. And there's books and stuff out there that they made back in that period that go through page by page how to use a grossmesser to like fence or duel.
Yeah.
And apparently there's just like a lot of moves that they trained with that thing. But I mean, now the good news is you can actually pick a grossmesser up from cold iron or cold steel or whatever, the sword making company here in America, for cheap.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I think it'll cost you
Why not?
like $100+,
That's not
but
bad.
that's cheap when you consider that it's a 442 tensile string. It's got a high tensile strength. It's modern still, and it's designed to be used.
Yeah, that is a
So
really
it's
good
not
price
one
for a
of these
sword.
Pakistan or Indian show swords that the first time you swing it through the air, it's going to bend
Yeah.
at the freaking crossguard. These things,
So
yeah,
it's a Maul katana.
yeah, it's not a trophy sword that you hang on the wall. It's an actual, like I have been eyeballing forever a Viking sword or perhaps an arming sword. They cost a lot more though
Oh
because
yeah.
the gross mess is really easy to make, right? You just crank that bitch out, put a handle on it, and say, there you go. They have katanas and shit that you could buy. And let's be perfectly honest right up front. The katanas that Cold Iron sells are better than the ones the samurai carry.
Yeah.
They're made with a much higher, stronger steel than the actual Japanese ever had access to. Um, so yeah, that being a D&D player, man, hearing people who barely know their head from their asses trying to explain how katanas could cut through like everything, and you're like, why do you think that? And the answer's like, well, they were folded 1,000 times. It's like, yeah, because the steel sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked so bad. The reason they were folding it is they're
This,
trying to fold all the silicon and freaking impurities out of it, and hopefully be left with enough of a steel billet to make something.
yeah.
Because in Japan, all they had was iron. That was sand. That's it. They had no actual good iron. It was just iron sand, and it
Yeah.
had to be freaking refined for months to come up with something that wasn't even as good as the pattern made swords that the freaking Europeans were just pouring into molds. And but somehow I think in the 80s, because of all the ninja movies and shit, even D&D did it. Like in Oriental Adventures, they say a katana is basically a longsword, but you get +1 damage. It's like, why? You know, like that katana is not going to do any more damage if you smack somebody upside the head with it than a
Well, that was
broadsword.
crazy.
What happened?
I guess I got booted for a second or something.
You blinked for a second, but since you came right back, I was like, well, cool. Welcome back to me. Um, Anyway, that's a personal gripe of mine. It means
Oh yeah.
nothing, but it's like so many old school D&D players were just convinced the katana was like the ultimate sword. And it's like, dude,
Yeah.
the Japanese samurai typically used bows and yaris.
Yep.
That sword was literally like, oh shit. They've broke the line, they've ran up on me. What can I do? I know. I'm going to bust out my freaking katana and fight to the death.
I mean, in war, that's what it was like. But in
Yeah.
duels, everybody used the katana, a certain form of it or something.
Well, yeah, because that was what you did in duels.
It's honor. It's like
Yeah,
gotta
that's
do
a
it.
whole different thing, man.
Yep.
That is a whole different thing. Duels versus actual combat, they are not comparable.
Yep.
But yeah, your samurai in actual combat were typically in the beginning horse archers.
Yep.
And then towards the end, they were your shock troops and they carried spears. Yari were their favorite weapon. Though some of them might carry other shit, depending.
They did. There was a few weapons they had.
But if you wanted to defeat an enemy samurai in the armor they wore at the time, the Yari was your best bet.
Yep.
Because, I mean, it's a spear, it's got a nice, long, flexible haft, and it's got a super sharp, iron point or steel point on the end.
Yep.
So you're fighting against samurai armor, which is very similar to like lamellar or Wisby plate. So you run that spear at them, even if it hits one of the little metal squares, there's a good chance they'll slide across it to the gap. And once that little point finds the gap between the metal, it's going right in. And, that's a dead guy. And then, of course, Ashigara barely ever had armor anyway. So.
Yeah, Ashigara were very lightly armored.
Right.
Didn't really have much.
The funny thing, though, is some Ashigara units carried shields. Samurai never carried shields.
Yeah, samurai weren't allowed to. Now, yeah, Yari Ashigara, yeah, they'd have shields. That's the one thing that games get wrong a lot, because they don't give the Yari any shields, which they would have had.
And they a lot of times carried guns too.
Oh yeah, samurai loved their guns.
Yeah, a lot of guns. And that if you're playing the warring period of Japan, be ready to have units of muskets because
Oda was like probably
not
the most
flintlocks. I think they were like firelocks at first, and then
matchlocks. It was
matchlocks.
mostly matchlocks.
They become more better, but
they called them Tanegashimas because that's where they made them.
Really?
Yeah.
See, you know a lot more about Japan than I do. All I know about Japan is I have to look for a samurai who smells like sunflowers.
That was a good show. I like that.
That was a good show, wasn't it?
Yep.
And I always rooted for the actual guy in the blue with the carps.
Jin.
Yeah, I thought he was way cooler than that asshole.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever his name was.
Jin was the more traditional samurai, or Ronin.
Yeah.
While Mugen was
so,
just...
since you are the weed here, who ended up winning? Do they ever say?
Neither of them. They draw.
Huh.
Their swords broke. They decided, well, I guess we will never know, and just went off on their separate ways at the end.
Well, that's good, because I never knew who won or not, and I was always like, I wonder who actually killed who.
Let's see.
I just dropped a link in my Discord to see if anybody there wants to hop on.
Now, Gene, I think, was the one that actually took out that one guy at the end who they called the Hand of God, because he was like such a good duelist that he'd never lose. I forgot his real name, but yeah, he was just like so good at dueling that they just...
Yeah, the one guy was basically just a rogue, and the other guy was like a straight up samurai.
Yep, he was a student of this one guy who got killed, and so he became a Ronin because of that.
Ah, man, talking about that anime, it just makes me be like, man, I miss playing L5R so much. Because I mean, literally everything we're talking about is like L5R shit. You know what I mean?
I'm thinking about rewatching Samurai Champloo again.
Right.
If I want to.
Because Jin I guess is what you said his name was.
Gene or Jin. I can't remember how you
Whatever his
exactly
name is,
pronounce
right?
it.
In
Yeah.
L5R, that dude would be a straight up Crane Clan
Yep.
Takeda School duelist.
Yeah.
And the other guy, I don't even know what the hell he probably from the island of Silk and Spices
Probably. That
because
would
he's
sound like
more like Gaijin than he is.
he's not a Gaijin. He's from the Ryukyus, which was like the place where they sent all their criminals, I guess you could say. They
Well,
were a bunch
here's
of
the thing:
pirates,
the
basically.
islands north of Japan, like you're saying, where the Ryukyu were.
That's
Uh,
not north of Japan. I think that's south.
no, they're north.
Are you sure?
Where well, maybe not the Ryukyu, but there are the islands north of Japan, and the people there
Oh.
were like ethnically Siberian or Slav.
Yeah, there's north ones that were
And then
Siberia's
they kind of integrated into
Slav.
Japanese culture and everything. But
The natives would be on. Oh, I forgot what that island is called on the north of
Okinawa,
Japan. No, not Okinawa. It's I'm trying to think of that big island just at the like north of the mainland Japan.
yeah, I don't remember any of that
I don't.
shit. But
But there's like they call them the Ainu.
the Ainu, they're the ones that were like closer related to like Siberians, like the
Yeah.
actual Indian Siberians, not the
Ah.
Russian Siberians.
Yeah.
But they said that a lot of them were also, Indo-European
Hmm,
somehow. And
that's
like
weird.
they were the ones that some of them were actually light colored hair, uh, you know, but they basically, a lot of them got integrated into,
Japan.
Japanese society
Yep.
because why wouldn't you,
Yeah.
I mean, if you lived on this thing and you're living that the way they lived, and some guy rolled up in silk, I was like, yeah, if you do things the way we do, you're going to get all the rice and sushi and live in nice houses and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'd be like, yeah, man, let's do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to convince me very hard. But yeah, painting up some knights. Well, not really knights, just aren't heavily armored fighters.
Hmm.
For some reason, I assume knight just because they're wearing plate mail, but
I've been having fun with the Vlandian game, so I've been playing the Night Path. All
I
Mountain
haven't
Horsemen
been
and
playing
everything.
any games
I know,
since
but
the one I told you about. That was one of those Japanese Tenari games or some shit. I didn't even know what that meant, so I had to look it up. And apparently, in Japanese, it means the sickness.
the sickness. What? I don't know what these Tenari games are.
See, now I know something about weebs you don't.
Yeah.
This was on Steam, and apparently, it's about people who, when they get in a relationship, love their partner so much they become maniacs.
Tomorrow.
And like they get hyper jealous and just start destroying shit and whatever. And since I thought that, Five Hearts Under the One Roof was cool, I was like, okay, I'll check this one out. And that one was not cool
Hmm.
because the girlfriend you start dating, she starts out really
Oh yeah.
sweet. And then the second she gets jealous about anything, she just starts wrecking your shit.
Oh.
And you can't
Okay.
really break up with her, even if you want to, because she's decided you can't. So it's just like, there you go. She's decided you can't break up with her, and now you can't. And it's just like, what is happening here? And apparently, so I looked it up, and it is like a huge thing with Japanese stories.
Yeah.
Uh, Tanari or Yanari or whatever. Uh,
I always think of the Yandere type of thing. It's like
oh, that might be it. Yendari.
Yandere. It means like they're very hyper possessive kind of
Yep.
characters.
To the point that they can actually be dangerous.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that's what this game was. And I didn't
Ah.
know what it was when I started playing it. And you end up meeting this girl, and she's really cute and nice and seems loyal and all this stuff. And then like after you start dating her, she starts getting like, you are mine. And
Yeah.
it's
That's a
like,
more modern thing.
whoa.
A lot of the Japanese dating sims I know are more like management sims than dating sims because what you're doing is basically upping your skills and stats and then possibly dating a girl.
Yeah, yeah. That, I mean, yeah. So I had that experience, and I was like, yeah, I'm not
Yep,
doing that again.
don't
You
blame you.
know,
Not my
no,
style of games either.
I'm done with all that trying out these Japanese games. They broke me. I'm done. I ain't doing it. And
Fair.
so whatever. It's all good in the hood. I tried. Wasn't for me. I don't
I
know
was
who the hell it's for, but I mean, apparently somewhere out there,
I
there
was
are
more of a
young
fan of
men
the
who want to play a game
RPGs.
about a woman loving them so much she's willing to kill them
Yeah, no thanks.
rather
I'm
than
more of
let them go.
the JRPG kind of guy. I like the JRPGs more.
Well, if you mean like Final Fantasy and shit, yeah,
Yeah,
obviously. My brother and I, for a while, we were actually playing Final Fantasy 14.
yeah, that's fair.
I had a human spear warrior,
Hmm.
uh, and he was playing I think a human, some kind of rogue or something with a bow. So it was a lot of fun. That game actually, for an MMO, like a
It's
new
kind of
MMO,
fun.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like that you're not locked into a class too. You could switch your class to whatever you want.
Yeah, that's a nice one. Yeah, and
Allowed you to try out things too.
yeah. Now that game got weird though.
Oh yeah,
There
definitely
was some
did.
weird stuff about it, like the fact that there was actual in-game prostitution.
Oh god.
I mean, the game didn't make it; the players
Yeah,
did.
I know
But
what you
you
mean.
literally had, I don't know if they were boys or girls, but they were playing female characters. And if you paid them gold, they would like pretty much describe pornographic shit that they did to you and all that.
Yeah, no thanks. I did not. I was not much
Didn't
of a
need to know
talker on
that.
the.
I didn't need to know that either, but I
Yeah,
read about it. I didn't do it myself. I
yeah,
read about it and I was just like, what the? I mean, I
yeah.
guess I respect the hustle. I mean, somebody out there is like,
Yes.
look, I need to make a little money.
Yeah, yeah. I guess.
So,
My thought is I didn't like actually text chatting in the first place, so I was
oh,
completely
in
oblivious
Dark
to
Age
that.
of Camelot, there were people who hated me because of that, like women,
Yeah,
because they would try to like want to sext me in game, and I'd be like, no,
no.
and they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, no, I don't do that, and they'd be like offended, and then the next thing you know, I'd hear people commenting about the bad character of Conkabar. And but I'm just like, why would you do that? Well, all you're going to do is work yourself up, get blue balls or something. So I'm like, I'm not messing with that. And plus, a lot of these girls in that game, and I assume
Oh
in other
jeez.
games like EQ too, I know for a fact,
Oh yeah, no, they're pretty much
they're
up there.
only doing that because they're hoping you'll give them like treasure. They're trying to
That.
latch on.
But I can tell
So
you that those girls were also dudes.
yeah, if I didn't hear their voice on voice chat, I assume dude always. But because at a point I would have been considered in Dark Age Camelot a high status male, my character anyway, because I ran a big guild and did all the
Yep.
raids and all that shit, right? I always had to watch out for these pretend chicks trying
Thirst
to
traps,
like
man.
latch
Thirst
on
traps.
to get some freaking loot or something. Tee hee hee, I'm a pretty whatever. And it's like, nah, go away.
Yeah,
I want to
those
hear
were thirst traps, man. Thirst
those
traps.
were those were thoughts before people knew what thoughts were. And I would always tell them to get to pound sand, which of course then they would talk mad shit about my character on the message boards and shit, which is pretty hilarious. We had our own like forums for my server, and it was just a nonstop shit show on the forums. My favorite was like the way I knew I'd actually made it as a player in Dark Age of Camelot was when I logged onto the forums and there were people on there whining about me killing them. And that's where I learned the term "weep in greater quantities novice,"
Yeah.
because then I just f with them. It's like, sorry about your luck, buddy. And it's kind of like when you're playing Battlefield 3 and you get like a shit ton of kills in a game and everybody accuses you of being a cheater,
Oh
when in
God,
fact
yeah.
you're just using the most effective assault rifle with the best optics, and you've got a high-end computer with a good internet. So half of these guys, by the time they even see you, you've already put 6 rounds in them. And because just the way the game works, right?
Oh yeah.
And then they'll bitch, oh, that guy's aimbotting, and it's like, dude, I saw you 200 yards away, and I just put a couple of bursts in you. You died. Sorry about your luck. I'm using the ACE, which was a super overpowered assault rifle. The Brazilian made Galil in 5.56. I had the ACOG on that bitch. So it was like, you know,
Yeah.
back before I would get like car sickness every time I freaking play those kind of games. But
Yeah. It brings me back whenever I used to play Black Ops.
plus I always played Metro. And
Metro.
Metro and
Oh God.
Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 was just a straight up, it's like drop 64 people in a room
Yeah.
and see how it turns out. It was
It's
like
just like a lot of death and just
death and destruction, man. You could chuck a grenade and kill 5 people because
yep.
everybody's all clustered up all over the place. And it's like, and if you knew how to position yourself just right at the top of the escalators, you could kill people upstairs and they couldn't see you because just the tip of the barrel was exposed above. And it was basically a poor game design because you could do that, which technically, yeah, was a glitch, but it was a glitch that never got repaired. So,
Well,
you know,
yep. It
am I a
reminds me
bad
of certain
person?
things I
Quite
did.
possibly. Quite possibly. I'm a really bad person for doing that. But there
I
were
don't.
games that would end and I'd be like 64-3. And people would be like, oh my God, that guy's cheating. And I'd be like, well, kinda. Yeah, kinda. One, we're playing on Metro. And two, I know how to position myself on those escalators to whack people who can't even see me. But after a while, people got used to that. And then, like, as soon as you started killing people from the escalators, they just spam hand grenades at the escalator and blow you up. And it'd be like, well, that is an option.
That is.
You can't see the guy, but you know he's there. Chuck some hand grenades.
That reminds me again. I've learned a lot of the tricks from like Black Ops with like people who are camping. I knew how to drop grenades right in their corner, or I just go with the Uzi and just like jump in and just take them out before they can even do anything because the Uzi had such a fire rate. And they'd like to choose these like small enclosed areas where the Uzi's just perfect for taking them out.
Yeah. Back when, really, there was a couple of first person shooters, and the one I played was Counter Strike, the original Counter Strike.
A lot of people like that one.
They used to call those guys Camping Carl.
Camping car.
And like, so you would be playing the game and people on your team would say, hey, there's a Camping Carl at the Italian Villa, whatever. And then, you know, once you knew where Camping Carl was, you would try and creep up on him and kill him with a knife because that's the ultimate insult to Camping Carl. If you can creep up behind him and stab him with a freaking knife, one, it's a one-shot kill. And two, it's like, ha, bitch, I killed you with a knife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then there were some Camping Carls that would like bunny hop around the map with an AWP and pretty much one-shot your ass at 300 yards. Now, that was a game that when people said, I think that guy's aimbotting, you actually looked because
It
a
could
lot
have
of people
been.
were, in fact, aimbotting.
Yeah.
Especially if you got on a server and the majority of the population was speaking Russian, you automatically knew there was at least 5 aimbotters on the Russians amongst them because as much as I love my Slavic brothers, them motherfuckers cheat at every game. You know, whether you're playing Battlefield or freaking Call of Duty or any first person shooter, if there's a group of Russians on that server and they're doing really well, they are cheating. And you would think being, well, I guess maybe they're not Orthodox, but it's like this desire to win at all costs is huge in that culture, you know?
Hmm.
So, yeah. I remember Battlefield 3 come out with a thing and they were, it was detecting cheats, right? Like wall hacks and all that shit. And as soon as they released it, like 90% of the Russian player population just gone. And it's just like, motherfuckers, man. Come on.
You know what they
You
were
make
doing?
me look bad because I'm on there giving them shit in Russian. Other players might think I'm Russian. And these guys are all aimbotting through the fucking moon. And now, because someone who's not Russian heard me calling somebody a suka, you know, they think, well, he's Russian. He's obviously cheating. I mean, you know, that's just a thing, right? So, yeah, that sucks. But anyway,
Yeah, I bet the people thought I was camping in the first game I ever played in Black Ops because I just went into this room, killed a guy, and then I was stuck in that room killing guys because I couldn't get out.
yeah.
I was just like, okay, I'm totally. Oh crap! Get 11 kills in that game because I just couldn't leave the room.
Well, I mean, that's not camping. That's just the
No,
right place at the right time, you know?
yeah, I was just like, well, I can't even leave.
Like, you guys have trapped me here, therefore I am just going to murder everyone.
Yes.
Or if my brother ever got home and just decided, F my brother, because that's how I am. That's the guy.
I don't know.
Probably did, honestly. He probably got home and was like, yeah, fuck that guy. I'm going to take a nap. I guess I don't really blame him, you know? Take your nap, homie. But, so it's, you know what? For the last couple minutes that I'm on, we'll talk about gaming.
Sure.
We keep getting. I mean, we're talking about gaming, but it's not the gaming
that you normally talk
that
about.
we basically always do. It's like video games and stuff. But um, yeah, the my campaign is going great, and that's of course from the DM's point of view. Working on my upcoming game night. Thoughts on spell materials. AD&D First Edition was hardcore about that shit. Hyperborea doesn't care. I run Hyperborea, therefore, you know, it's not that big of a deal. And you are right. He is right about this thing he said, though. Players absolutely hate that shit.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of having to keep up with like a bunch of random things that might even be hard to get. Just to use spells. Nope, I think we lost James.
Right. When the player goes to cast.
Yep, we lost James.
I'm back. When the players want to cast the fireball, and you're like, well, do you have back?
We're losing James again.
And then they're like,
oh boy. I'm just gonna say it. Don't care for it.
They're supposed to, but a lot of players just want things to be quick and easy. They're not interested in whatever's realistic. They just want to be able to do what they want to be able to do when they want to do it. And my take on that as a DM is, you know, we're here to have fun. So if fun for them is not having to worry about having these things, I'll be like, okay, you don't got to worry. Now, in Dungeon Crawl Classics, what I did is I made it where players didn't have to have their components, but if they did, they got a bonus to the spell roll. In
Ah, gotcha.
AD&D, that would probably work out as maybe a +1 damage to each die. So yeah, he can cast the fireball without the bat guano, but if he has the bat guano, it's going to be like 5d6 +5. And you'll see at that point, you'll see players actually being like, "Holy shit, I need components," right?
Now, yeah.
And yet it doesn't make it where they're like, "Shit, I gotta have components."
Yeah. If
Uh,
anything, the one thing I'm okay with is probably certain spells having components that cost you something, because if not, they'd probably be really powerful and not very good to have on hand all the
well, I
time.
mean, and you're talking about, of course, cleric spells.
Some cleric spells, yeah.
Yeah, resurrection.
Yeah,
You need
that was
like a
one of them.
massive diamond or some shit.
Yeah, it was like a diamond costing like 2,500 gold.
Right. And of course, that's there to keep someone from casting resurrection every day.
Yeah.
Uh, doesn't really need to be there because if you play the rules as written, every time a character gets resurrected or reincarnated or whatever, they lose con. Well, first they got to make a system shock check to see if they even want
Yeah.
to come back or whatever.
Uh,
And then two, they lose a point of con. And of course, every time their con goes down, their system shock check gets worse. So you will eventually get to a point, however many reincarnations it takes, to where they'll cast a spell, the player's going to fail the system shock and will never come back. That's just it. They're gone. So depending on the character you're casting and their starting con, I mean, if you got a guy with like a starting 11 con or some shit, their system check is not that good. I mean,
no.
it's better than 50%, but still, it's definitely fellable. And then when that con goes from like 11 to 10 or from 10 to 9, now you're getting in that range where they're going to literally, you res them again and they're going to start losing hit points, because they've dropped the like con 7 or whatever, and which is -1 hit points per level. They lose that shit. That is gone. And for every level they gain after that, they're -1 hit point. One, of course, being the least they can gain, but that doesn't change the fact that they are basically effed. So do you really need the 5,000 gold piece diamond or whatever? You don't really need it. That shit corrects itself.
Eventually, yeah, but hey, I think resurrection should be
That's
a
got
bit
18
rare.
con. But even then, a guy with an 18 con, when you res them, if they roll shitty enough, they don't come back.
Yeah.
That's just it. So it's not like resurrection or reincarnation is a guarantee. It is not a guarantee. Players can absolutely just not come back. Yeah, I don't remember that in third edition. I'm not saying it wasn't there, but I didn't play a whole lot, of third edition, like by the book anyway. Um, like I said, though, I think that spell components should be bonuses, not requirements. And the reason is because I'm a nice guy and I don't want my players bitching at me all the time, you know. And it started out in Dungeon Crawl Classics, because in Dungeon Crawl Classics you actually have to roll die to cast spells and you can miss and then the spell don't get cast and shit like that, right? So if you had all the components and everything, you got bonus to your spell cast, which made you fail less, which meant the players were constantly, the mages in the group, there were two of them, were constantly, every time they went to, looking to buy components. I mean, these guys were running around with vests full of pockets with all the components in it and shit. Like they cared because they wanted that sweet, sweet 5% bonus, which is what +1 is on a die 20. It's a 5%, but, which isn't even that much. in the grand scheme of things,
Now,
but in the mind of a player, that's a big freaking deal.
another thing is it's another money sink for the players' guild to go
Yeah,
to.
yeah, and they weren't. I don't think the players were super interested in the money sink, but it did keep the players broke a lot. The mages, I mean, of course, the dwarf was just buying all the taverns in every town he went to. So that was a big deal. I got 10,000 gold. I'll buy your tavern, and then I'll hire you to run it, and then we'll split profits. He did that like I don't know, at least 8 times. That guy was a slumlord, you know. He's just rolling around buying shit up. But so anyway, if you're playing AD&D, I would probably um, I would suggest the spell components as giving the players a bonus in some way. But of course, you do you, boo, as my wife says. Uh,
Again, the spell component thing, if that was a thing, I'd be like, this is why I kind of like RuneQuest magic system better. Just
yeah,
be
the
like,
thing is, clerics generally don't need spell components except for certain big spells like ring
yeah.
range.
But with the
Like,
RuneQuest, is I mean, you have the a number of spells that you can cast that was because of your aura. That's your magic system, and as long as you have spell points to use, you can cast a spell.
right. Um, I think what the reason I did what I did in Dungeon Crawl Classics is because I played a lot of Shadowrun, and in Shadowrun, if you played a mage or a shaman, you could cast spells as long as you made your drain check. But you could buy totems and focuses that would give you like bonuses to the cast or the drain or whatever. And when you're playing a system where if you f up your drain enough, you could die. Um, yeah, that shit can be important when you're casting a big spell that's got like, because little spells are like whatever, right? But if you try to cast a big spell, like a super powerful spell, the drain on that thing, if you're not ready for it, could burn you out.
Yeah, RuneQuest had a failure system, so you could try to cast a spell and it just fail.
Yeah,
Which has
but
happened to me once because it was kind of sad. Because one thing I did was I casted excommunicate on a Bay Knight. Oh, which would have been hilarious if it actually succeeded. Just think if you excommunicated a Bay Knight.
like I
They're no
said, in
longer a cleric.
Shadowrun, it was a lot more like, okay, you're casting a spell, roll to cast. Okay, you succeeded. Now let's roll to see what the spell does. Okay, it did some shit. And now make a drain check. Oh, you failed really bad? Yeah, you're unconscious. You lose a point of your magic. I mean, 'cause some spells, if you failed hard enough, you could literally lose your mana points, your magic. And then you could end up with a character who started the game as a mage, and now he's basically a burned out mage trying to frickin' live as a samurai or a decker or some shit because
because
you
he
know
no longer has his magic.
right, because in Shadowrun, magic is basically you're pulling the energy from the ether and you're guiding it through your nervous system to create an effect. And if you don't do it exactly right, guess what? Your nervous system gets burnt out, and that includes that lump of gray fat in your skull. And yeah, so I would say like a lot of spells, they're all scalable for the most part too. So you can cast a spell and be like, look, I don't want to do like this amount or that amount or whatever. And if you go for the big freaking let's blow everything up shit, you can do it, but you could pay for it bad. And then what focuses can do, or totems if you're a shaman, is they give you additional die, or some of them might even give you automatic success levels versus drain, you know. And again, if you're playing the game a long time, I mean, these focuses, especially the really powerful ones, they can cost,
Some issues.
no, they can cost tens of
Oh,
thousands
cost. Oh,
of new ones.
I thought I misheard you. I thought you said
Yeah.
costs.
Oh, I don't, that's okay. I might have been mumbling, but yeah. So the currency is the new yen
Yeah.
because Japan was, after everything went to shit, they're the only ones that kept an economy going. So now the world is no longer using the dollar as the primary currency. They use the yen.
That's kind of funny.
And yeah, focuses can cost as much as like apartment buildings and shit,
Dang.
for the super powerful ones. But then again, they're super powerful.
Yeah, you
You
probably
know,
want
it,
one.
it can be the difference between your brain exploding and not exploding.
Have you seen scanners?
Exactly. That is exactly kind of what we're talking about here. And that is a cool system. And I think because I'd played with that system as long as I did, that influenced how I handled Magic in a lot of other games.
Yeah.
Like the only game, well, okay, even Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. If you're playing a mage, you can get things that actually help mitigate failures and stuff from spells, and you absolutely need them because in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, if you mess up enough, you could rip like a demon gate where you used to be because you ain't there anymore.
Yeah.
And then, demons will just spill out that demon gate and basically destroy the whole freaking county you're in
It makes me
until
think of.
someone comes back and seals that gate. And
It
it's
kind of
not
makes.
you, though, because you're dead.
Oh God.
And probably your whole group is dead.
You
If
know
you're
that
all
does.
standing around and the demon gate rips open, there's a 99% chance you and everyone in your group are currently dead now. And that's just the way Warhammer is. So,
That does make me think of the failures that I had in
did they
RuneQuest.
open rip holes through time and space?
Not exactly, but I did get in contact with a Chaos God who did kidnap me and tried to turn me into basically a puppet for him.
Yeah, you lucked out. Because, like in Warhammer, if you got kidnapped by like a greater demon, it's like pick your poison, right? If it's corn, well, you're dead because he's just going to cut your head off, or maybe try to make you into a champion of corn, which means eventually you're going to get your head cut off. But you might cut off a bunch of other people's heads first, right? If it's Slanesh, you are effed in the A, and I mean that literally. You are going to be the freaking meat puppet for the most perverse, sick kind of individual you can't even imagine. Nurgle's just going to give you every disease, but you won't die. So you might be let loose to just wander around and spread every disease to everyone, and you can't die, but you feel all the diseases all the
Dang.
time. And then Zinch, who knows what Zinch could do? I can't even imagine. I mean, literally, he might just turn you into some twisted little muppet. He might teach you a spell and let you go. I mean, Zinch is the essence of chaos. So there, you just don't even know what would happen there. Happened
Yeah.
to a player in a 40K version. Yep. I was running Wrath and Glory, and the psyker in our group effed up so bad his brain exploded. But he was trying to deal with what they call what's it called? A demon something. It's basically where a psyker gets possessed by a demon, and then the Imperial people, or sometimes the cultists, chain that person up and force it to work for them. And they had busted in on some cultists on a world that were in an Imperial cathedral, but everyone there was either dead or chaos by that point. And there was that freaking demon bound guy in there. And yeah, the psyker decided he was going to do some shit, and his skull blowed up just like freaking a demon host. And the good guy psyker basically got his skull freaking blown up. just like scanners, as my boy mentioned. It was like, oh, look at that. You have failed critically. Look at the chart. Yep, your skull explodes. Boom. But the thing with 40K, though, or any Warhammer Fantasy 40K, whatever role playing game, everybody, as soon as they sit at the table, they know. They know if you make a mage, you are going to be god awful powerful right off the bat. You're going to do crazy ass war magic shit.
But you're also probably gonna die pretty
But you're probably going to die,
spectacular.
get corrupted by chaos, become a mutant, have inquisitors run you down and kill you just cause
Yeah.
they feel like it on that particular day. So big power, but
I
not a
mean,
long
heck,
life.
with that Chaos God, James, I got kidnapped in the middle of the night, naked, and didn't have any of my gear.
Like I said, lucky for you, it was not Slanesh, or you would have been returned with a
Would be.
really weird look on your face. Like, what just happened here?
Eh.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to sit down or walk straight for a month by the time, a Slanesh god was done with you.
I got lucky that my party came back and rescued me, which equaled my two cousins.
Yeah. Assuming, because we're talking about Slanesh, they didn't just skin you alive and then make like some kind of fancy clothes out of you.
Yeah, the other cousin had an interesting character. He summoned a demon bear.
A demon bear.
Yeah, he went with the summoner route and he
So are
befriended
we
the demon
talking
bear.
like a bald Canadian dude from like that lives in Montreal that like is somehow evil?
I don't know.
Not that kind of demon bear.
Not that kind of demon bear. It was more like a bear, but demonic, I guess. I don't know.
I'm talking about our boy bear. Come on,
I know.
play along. But I don't believe in all that demonic animal bullshit. I don't like it. And no, and this is not a religious thing or anything like that. It's just a matter of, okay, a demon can appear like a bear.
Yeah.
But if you go to hell, you're not going to see bears sitting around being like, damn, I guess I shouldn't have stole that picnic basket. I mean, come on, right?
And I just see Yogi just sitting there like,
Yeah, Yogi and Boo Boo sitting there because they just never repented or confessed from all the theft they were doing.
yeah.
So when they died, and Jesus is like, look, man, you guys broke the commandment about
I
thievery
guess
like
I'm
a
gonna have to
million
go. I'll
freaking
see you.
times. You gotta go?
Yep.
Well, that's cool, because so do I then.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Well, I'll see you, homie. And all of the rest of you that popped in and whatever and said hey and shit, thank you very much. And Jack, I wish you'd showed up earlier because man, we could have had a whole conversation about that. But hey, uh, you know, it is what it is. Talk to your players. If they really, really hate the idea, I wouldn't force it on them because then they're really going to hate it. But if they're cool with it, then by all means, run with it. However, like I said, players of role playing games, they always respond to bonuses way better than penalties. So if you make it where doing this particular thing is going to give them like a bonus, they'll buy in 100%. They'll be all about it. Whether they want to engage with that particular aspect of the game or not, they will be cool with it. But if you try and be like, you can't cast magic missile because you ain't got, I don't know, whatever the hell you need, yeah, you're going to end up with a lot of players that are going to not be really happy with you at all. They're going to be like, this guy's a jackass, and I hate my life, and I wish I'd never played a mage, which is why I don't ever play mages, because that's not why. The real reason is I just prefer fighters. But life in the fast lane. Yep, I got a hot date with a hot blonde to play some Splendor. So your boy is going to get out of here and go play a game of Splendor. Probably get my ass whipped because my wife is a way better gamer than I am. And but I'll have fun. and I'll flirt with her a little bit, make her blush. You know what you do. You do what you do. But peace and love to all the gamers out there. And maybe I'll see you on Shadows tomorrow or not. Depends. And until next time, I don't know.